Shalom, everybody. Welcome back. We have insights in the Parsha of the week, BaMidbar, as it falls before Shavuot. And normally it's like that. Even the rabbis, they gave like a type of sign. You count, in other words, the census of the Jewish people, and then you do the Chag of Atzeret, of Shavuot. There's a lot of depth in these things. Let's try to see some connection. Rabbi Nachman already makes a connection between the letters found in the 12 tribes, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Issachar, Zvulun, right? When you count the letters of the 12 tribes, there's 49 letters. And Rabbi Nachman hints to in the Likutey Moharan that these correspond to the 49 days of the Omer, the 49 gates leading to the 50th level, which is the highest gate. All these are interrelated. So we're counting the census of the Jewish population at the time, the generation who received the Torah in Parshat BaMidbar, right? That generation, and right after that, we're receiving the Torah. So what's going on? What's the connection here? There's many things to say, but first, that every letter of every tribe relates to another day of the Sefirah counting and another gate of holiness, meaning every detail counts. Every detail of the 12 tribes, plus their offspring, the descendants, which includes us, counts. We all count, okay? In this week's Parshah, there's a census. In other words, besides the location of the Jews in the desert, where each tribe will be when the tabernacle is traveling, there's also the census at the beginning of the Parshah. Now we know there's a rule. In general, it's not good to count. Because why? En bracha matzoy ela ma shemisamui ma'ain. Bracha is found that which is concealed. When you count something, there's like no bracha in it. On the other hand, you have to count sometimes, right? You have to count how much money you have in your bank, etc. But in general, it's not good to count. Here, the Torah makes such a big deal to count every single Jew, every single male from above the age of 20, and from the tribe of Levi, every male from above the age of 5 months. Okay? Everyone, or 5 years, sorry, is counted. What's going on? Why this counting of every single Jew? And why right before Shavuot? Okay? Rav Nosson explains that when you count, the idea of numbers, minyan, is the most physical level you can get to. In other words, it's the real farthest point of physicality. When you count 1, 2, 3. So it's the mattering of matter. That matter exists, and we take it into consideration, and it has a value. So that's the lowest level of gashmiut is when you count physicality. So physically counting people is of idea of the most extreme level of physicality. Okay? So why the counting? The idea of counting every Jew is because every Jew here, in the case of the Jews in the desert, is a vessel. When you count an item, there's like 624,000 Jews in the tribe of Binyamin, 45,000 in the tribe of Yehuda. When the Parsha goes into counting, right? This counting is basically making vessels. For what? Vessels that each Jew in the desert, they were a vessel to receive within them the light. That's why they needed to be counted. Hashem was so concerned of counting the Jews when they're in the desert, and before, after the golden calf, in the desert, after the Mishkan was erected, before entering the land. We have a few times the census in the Torah. All this to show that every Jew counts. Every Jew makes a difference. And every Jew is a vessel to receive light. Okay? This is the exact same idea of why we count the days of the Omer. The countdown of the days of the Omer, because those days, those 49 days, are vessels. Once you count them, you count the day. There's day 1, day 2, day 3. So by singling it out, by counting, you allow that day to be like a vessel. For what? For the light of the 50th level, the 50th day Shavuot, receiving the Torah, it now has where to go. Once we count and we enter the 50th day of Shavuot, so now us counting up to it, leading up the countdown, has enabled us to create 49 vessels, so to speak. So when we reach the 50th day of Shavuot, and the light of receiving the Torah anew every year, it now shines into every day that we counted. The same is true with all the Jews in the desert, the 600 and whatever 603,600, whatever the count was in the Parsha, of over 600,000 Jews, everyone is a vessel. What does that show also? Like we gave once in an early class on Sefirah Omer, that every Jew counts. Every Jew counts, from the greatest tzaddik to the lowest of the low. He is part of a tribe. He is part of the Jewish nation. He has to be located in a certain place. Just imagine going back to the desert. You have a Jew who wasn't so tzaddik. You had also, we know for sure, there were Jews who weren't that well, such as Thakn, Aviram, Korach. There were people who weren't the best. And they were in the census, and they were allotted on the tribes, right? In the desert, okay? To show us that every Jew counts, okay? And another point, the Parsha is called BaMidbar, in the desert. And this census is taking place in the desert. What in the world? If now we're talking about Jews entering Jerusalem, I understand. You know, Jews coming to something big, I understand to count. But in the desert, Hashem, what in the world? Why count the Jews in the desert, a wasteland, and yet we're counting the Jews? To strengthen this point, that every Jew, as far as he is and as low as the situation is, he makes a difference in Hashem's eyes. Hashem wants that census. Hashem ordered the census. Hashem wants to be counted because each Jew is precious. Each Jew, once counted, becomes a vessel to receive within him the infinite light. This is one of the big messages of Sefirah Omer, and this Parsha, which is culminating towards the end of the Sefirah Omer, Parshat BaMidbar, where it mainly deals with the census and the placing of every Jew and the appointing of the tribe of Levi and also the census and all this counting right before Shavuot is to show us that every detail of us counts, even if we may not think that way. Even if we think low about ourselves, we think that we don't have such a worth, because we see all of our bad deeds, they outweigh us. We feel we're outnumbered by our bad more than the good. Still, nonetheless, in Hashem's eyes, we have a value. Every Jew has what's called a nekuda tova, a good point. And it's this good point that Hashem counts. Okay? The counting of the days, we count them, we verbalize them, it counts. Us counting, being counted amongst the census of the Jewish people, we count, right? We are descendants of these 12 tribes and the 600,000 Jews who were in the desert. We are their descendants, and in a sense we have sparks of reincarnations from these original 600,000 plus Jews in the desert. And the point is that we count, and Hashem wants us to be counted in order to stress and reiterate the value that we have. And the value is that we afterwards, once there's a value, and we appreciate it by recognizing the admitting the value, we then serve to be a vessel to contain within each and every one of us the light of Hashem, the infinite light, which is in a small level is the idea of Shavuot, the receiving of the Torah on Har Sinai. We redo that every year. We go through that procedure, that experience every year, so as to receive more and more light to shine into our daily life, and thus enabling the light of Hashem to shine into the world. Shabbat Shalom U'Mevorach.